So not finally, I guess I just asked you like a week ago to come onto the show, but I've been a fan of this gentleman for a long time. This is esteemed photographer, Mr. Tim Motley. Probably anybody who's been in the Grand Rapids art scene probably knows who you are, I would think, right?
I would imagine so, yeah.
You were telling us a little bit before we are recording, like, how long you been doing this? Like, how you were saying you got into this in like the 80s?
I started professionally shooting in 1980.
Dang.
And then retired in 2019, just before COVID. I still continue to work in the fine art field, but as far as commercial work, I worked from 1980 to 2019.
Wow.
Then I hung it up.
Yeah.
Pretty good timing on the stop there just before COVID.
Right.
It was really great.
Well, yeah.
I spent most of COVID printing. My wife bought me a printer, showed me how to use it. So all during COVID, when everybody was stuck at home, I was just sitting in my studio printing all my photographs. It was a ball. I had a ball.
It's like a really high quality printer. Like
the newer one I have now. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's photographic paper.
Right.
Now I've got one that has archival inks. So basically the prints I make now will last 200 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. A little bit of experience with that stuff, but it's been a while. I worked at do you know Corporate Color?
Oh yeah, I used to use them years ago.
Yeah, I worked there for like a year.
Okay, yeah.
I worked in there I guess it was like the finishing department. So I was doing like matting and like laminating and like that kind of like frame building, that kind of crap or whatever.
Sure.
I was basically just like an assistant there at that time. So,
okay.
But yeah, they had just put in like a bunch of at that time they just switched to all digital. They got rid of all their dark rooms and everything and moved locations, and that's why they had like hired a bunch of, I don't know, temps more or less, and I was one of those guys. So
incidentally, you stopped using them about 2 months after you started working there.
Probably. When you started though, I mean, the digital didn't even exist.
Oh gosh, no. Yeah. I shot film from 1980 all the way to 2001.
Yeah.
2001, I changed over to digital and didn't look back. I haven't shot film since then.
Right. Yeah. Were you developing all your own negatives and all that kind of stuff?
I did some of my black and white, but most all of my color was done by professional labs like Corporate Color.
Yeah.
Then I had a couple of other people that were privately printing for me as well.
Gotcha.
So that worked out.
Because developing color is like a way bigger process, right?
Oh yeah, you don't want to get into that in the dark room.
Okay, you basically have to have like professional like machines and that kind of stuff.
You really do, and it's so much more involved when you're dealing with color. Whereas if you're doing color and digital, it's really a snap compared to the old world color.
Do you ever kind of like miss the analog hands-on nature of that, or is it just so much more convenient? It's just the hell with the old way we used to do it. I
miss the smell of the dark room, the chemicals. It's really got a unique smell to it. But other than that, I really love digital because I control everything.
Sure.
I've got complete control of my image from the time that camera shoots it to the time I print it out. And going to a lab like Corporate Color, and I've been to a few other pro labs, you're at the mercy of what that lab is going to do for you.
And every jackass worker they've got like there, clearly.
Sometimes, sometimes. But, you're there, like I say, their output is not always what you're seeing. And to be able to do it yourself, have your own printing set up in your computer and take it from beginning to all the way to the finished product.
Right.
That's really special.
Right.
And nowadays, most stuff is just so viewed on screens and stuff anyway.
It really is.
Having prints and stuff is amazing, and I love all that, but it's almost like the actual viewing medium is mostly just the screen now, too. So it's like...
Well, social media took all of that over. I mean, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, and all the others.
Yeah.
And it really brought it out to the forefront.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm really still very much in the old world, like galleries, museums, printing, that type of thing.
Right.
I still kind of keep in contact with social media, but not as much as I used to.
Right. Well, I mean, that's how I discovered you, or sort of following you, was on Facebook and watching your stuff there, which I always thought was really good. I always try to follow whatever artists I can that I like or whatever. I got into photography in high school, so we had through our art program, like our art teacher, director, whatever at the high school at Fruitport High School. He was a excellent photographer, and still is, as far as I know. A guy named Michael Hines. You know him at all?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm sure he's well retired by now or whatever, but you had to get, like, photography was like the most advanced art class you could get to, because it was kind of like his baby, you could say. So it was like, you had to be like, get into it or whatever, like approved to get into it or whatever. Yeah. But he was teaching 35 millimeter. So, I mean, it was, and this was 2002. So I guess it was just right after, and I think it was kind of right then when everything was switching. But in his view, it was still more about like teaching like the art of photography. And like, so like we were doing all that stuff. Like we had to shoot and develop our own negatives, and then, in the enlargers and everything like that. And I was super into it, and I still loved it. But when I moved to Kalamazoo after high school, I kind of had to make a choice of, I was going to either build a dark room in my basement or build a music studio in the basement. And so I went with the music stuff, which I was, I guess, more passionate about. But, at that time I was very much considering like, but I still do photography. I'm not great. I'm like professionally a graphic designer. So it's all, like in that vein, or whatever. But my photography now is more like, the camera's on auto, and then I mess with it in the computer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't consider myself to be a photographer necessarily, but what I love about it, and the reason I kind of said all that was because you kind of mentioned it, is the instantaneousness of it is what's awesome to me, because doing music can take like literally years sometimes, like to make a full album or something, so like to be able to just like do a thing, throw it in your computer, mess with it to your heart's content, and then just be like, here it is, it looks cool. Like I love that.
You're doing it while it's still fresh in your mind.
Yes, and it's like, and it's finished.
Yes.
And like so like that's very different than like, working a day job and trying to do music on the weekends. Is like, I have 3 unfinished albums right now. You know what I mean? It's just like, so doing photography is fun like that. So, you were talking about this series you were doing where it's all nudes and it's people. And this is what I think I was following. Is it like, it kind of looks like you see, like, I thought it was maybe a really long exposure or something. And it kind of looks like multiple images of the same person. Kind of, it's like very ghosty looking.
In some cases, it is multiple images, but for the most part, it is slow exposures.
Okay.
And the subject that's in front of the camera is moving pretty quickly.
Okay.
What we'll do is select music that they can move to, that they feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Whether it be rock, jazz, soul, whatever type of music, as long as it gets their body moving. And then they'll start moving. We'll use some fabric sometimes, which will add some of the color. Okay. And then I'll use colored gels on the lights at times as well, which will give you just all kinds of effects.
Yeah. Those are the images that I was following you on. I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Are you letting people kind of self-select the music, or are you kind of curating that beforehand and giving them a choice, or how are you doing that? At first,
I took real tight control about it. I wanted this song, and I wanted this. Actually, I'd play the same song for 5 shoots in a row and see how each subject would relate to the music. And then it got to where I started, especially during COVID, I was working with just 3 women. All 3 of us had been vaccinated. We trusted each other as far as not bringing any disease into the studio or whatever. And we worked together. And they started picking their own music because they knew what really moved them. Like I had one girl that was really into belly dancing. So we'd play a lot of Arabic music and she'd just take off with it. And then another one was into industrial rock.
Yeah.
And so we'd play some 9 Inch Nails, In the Moment, all kinds of really heavy stuff. And she'd get into it. She'd just really eat it up. So,
were you getting like much better results when people are kind of able to do the thing that fit them best? Did you?
With these 3 women, yes. Okay. I really did, because they were selecting the music, and they were also not only selecting it because they liked to move to it, but it also fit their mood. Because one of the women would come in, and she told me, she said, I've had some problems just with the day or the week or whatever. Yeah. I want to get some angst out. And she would right in front of the camera. And it was amazing. her movement, the selection of the music, the lights, and everything. And we made some just unforgettable images. It's so cool.
Very cool, yeah.
Especially because they're getting comfortable too. If they were doing it multiple times, now they're like coming back and like, sorry, the cat's in the thing again. She does this every time.
Right. What they end up doing is they build a trust because we work together so many times.
Yeah.
And it's like
here's some of it here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they almost look like paintings. I remember
that was
like,
kind of the goal in the beginning was to see how close I could come to getting a painted like feel.
Did you have a background in painting before that, or have you always been kind of strictly photography?
I'm only a photographer.
Okay.
Yeah, only.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
I know, that stuff's so cool.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But you were shooting commercially too, you're saying. So that's what you were doing like for a living.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean commercially? You were doing like what stuff for like product placement?
You do jobs for people that you don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe it's a family shoot, maybe it's a wedding.
Oh, okay, sure.
And sometimes it was commercial, like product shots.
Right.
It's when I look at commercial, I'm looking at it as you're commissioned to do this.
Yeah.
You're getting paid a check for it, and you're basically having to deliver what the client wants.
Sure, exactly.
Whereas when I work with my fine artwork and say like the nudes and some of the tintype work I've been doing, that's all for me.
Yeah.
And I don't have anyone I have to answer to.
Right.
Because I'm not getting a check for it.
Exactly.
You know, it's like
how did you approach it when you had like a creative difference of opinion between you and the client? I mean, were you kind of just like do whatever they say? Were you like, understand where you're going, but this might be a better route? Or how did you approach that?
We did as much as we could to please the client. You know, we bend over backwards. My wife was a Photoshop specialist. You know, what she could do with, bodies was unbelievable. We would meet them to a certain extent. And if you had someone that was a client that was just overbearing or too much, it's like you just try to meet their needs and send them on their way.
Get them the hell out the door.
Exactly, as quickly as possible. Yeah. But we always tried to work with everyone. For the most part, we had fantastic clients. We had a lot of happy people, especially when we were doing the wedding work. That was just astronomical.
Yeah. That's good because that's the hardest thing, man. I thought about going into that, a little bit. That's the side hustle for a lot of photographers, or or a full-time gig or whatever. But like, I'm like, man, I don't want to be spending like my weekends at a wedding for some bridezilla or something.
Pressure of that. I mean, like tensions are high, and hopefully that's a great day. They go smoothly, but I mean, people are kind of on edge, and that is like the day. So I got to imagine the pressure is astronomical in that kind of situation.
52 weddings a year for a number of years.
Oh, wow.
52 a year. And we're talking high end, like at the Amway or at the Marriott, JW.
Right.
And then I ended up going to the British Virgin Islands, to Texas, California, New York. And it's a great thing, but you've really got to be on your toes to deliver.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine so,
Because there's a lot of horror stories out there.
Right. I figure that, like, because you're good and you get a reputation for being good, you probably get bigger clients and you probably maybe charge a little more than some other people or whatever. So you probably start to kind of like, I don't know what you'd call it, but like phase out some of the people that are going to be a little like crazier maybe or something.
When I started shooting weddings, I was charging $300.
Yeah.
And then, actually, my first wedding was $50. But then I moved up to $300. And then when I was getting to the point where actually the economy took my market away, I was pulling in about $5,000 a wedding.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's with albums and pictures and lots of shooting. Travel as well, but at the same time it's a good living.
Yeah, that's nice.
Good living with it.
Were you doing like the proof books and that kind of stuff, doing all that? That's what I was working at that place. It just reminded me. That's actually what I spent a ton of my time doing, was making those proof books for photographers. And oh man, doing the stupid thing with the spiral. I had to like do the thing with the machine and bust out all those and run the spiral through.
We actually got to a point where we did our own proof books where we printed them in-house. Right. We had like big roll paper printer.
Okay. Yeah.
We'd print out all the pages. My father-in-law would cut them.
Yeah.
We had a big industrial cutter. And then we'd take them up to Kent City where we had a guy that can bind them in a book.
Yeah.
He had all of this like World War I machinery type stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And huge presses, and he would bind our books by hand. And yeah, we did that for a number of years, and then I think he moved off to the East Coast, and so we had to find a different way of doing our business. And
I was just having horrible flashbacks there. The hours I spent putting together those freaking proof books for prom and
my wife and I worked a number of Christmas Eves getting client stuff ready.
Yeah.
Clients would come in Christmas Eve, Christmas morning to pick up stuff, and yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So can we talk about the fire? Can we just get right into the fire a little bit here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, we were talking about it a little bit. It's like not a great segue there, but it's just this like huge thing that just happened to you.
Yeah.
And as I was telling you off air, I went through a fire when I was a kid, a little bit different, but also like, so I've been through that. So again, following you online, I was following all that. And I mean, like, it was just fucking crazy. Like, you put like a picture up like the next day or something of the maybe it was a couple days later or whatever, but like of the space and inside and everything. And so can you tell that story a little bit? I know you already told us off air a little bit, but
what happened was the guy was pounding on our front door 7:15 that morning. He said, "You got to get out of the house." My wife had answered the door. She said, "Well, I've got to wake up my husband." I was in the back of the house, dead asleep, where the fire was.
Yeah.
She came up, woke me up. I grabbed my keys and my glasses and my slippers, and that was it. Ran down the stairs. By the time I got downstairs, the entire back of the house was in flames, just completely in flames.
Damn.
I thought the actual house was going to fall down on me. And I made it out, thanks to my wife. And as soon as I got out, we hugged each other, and then I actually started shooting the fire. I did pictures of all of the fire.
Just
real fucking artist
was your inclination to get the hell out? I was like, I gotta capture this.
It's like, this is monumental. I mean, it's really monumental.
Yeah.
I've got to capture this. Of all the things I've done in my life, I've photographed weddings and deaths and births and, just everything. This I've got to photograph.
What was your mindset when you were doing that? Was it a holy shit moment, or were you totally shifted into just get the best shot the best way?
I was just shifted into recording it, just to record it for documentation purposes, for the history of it. When you start shooting, like when I start shooting, I get locked into it, and there is nothing else in this world when I start shooting. I mean, the building could fall down and I would still be shooting.
Right.
And with this situation, we got outside. Firemen gave us some blankets to cover up with.
Yeah.
And we stood there watching the fire, and I watched. They had 7 fire departments come to our place.
Yeah, it's crazy,
7,
right? How many show?
And they had gotten the fire out in the house. They thought they had it contained. And what happened was the fire went under the roof of my studio and caught all the insulation on fire. Oh, so they're thinking the house was out, and all of a sudden flames start shooting up through my roof, and they start pummeling it with water. All of the water that went into my studio just brought the whole ceiling down and all the insulation down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That floor that I had was a beautiful white pine floor. It was, or maple floor, I think, built in 1901 when the building was built.
Original.
Yeah, the original floor, and it was totally destroyed.
Jeez.
Yeah, there is no floor there now.
Yeah.
What was it? Once you stopped shooting, did it just come over you like a wave? I mean, you said you shifted into that mindset. You're doing your thing. Once you put the camera down, was it just like, oh my God, this is all hitting me and becoming real now? Or what was it like after you stopped shooting?
It does that a little bit. You kind of go into a mindset of, okay, what do we got to do now?
Yeah.
And I mean, we had our insurance people show up while the fire was burning.
They'll come.
They came right out that day.
Ours did too.
My insurance man, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
I did his wedding 23 years ago.
Right.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, actually, you still owe me like $200 for that.
Well, luckily they're still married, which is a really cool thing too. But no, it was, especially once you get away from it, you just have a mountain of crap that's on your head that you've got to deal with.
Right.
You're dealing with insurance, you're dealing with the firemen, you're dealing with all of the utilities that have to be cut off. And then we get into, what was it? We spent the first night with my niece, and then we moved into a hotel that you could live in for a while.
Right.
We were there for about a month and a half, almost 2 months. And while we were there, somebody broke in my car.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, it was like
injury.
It was like raining shit that day. You know? But we got through it. We ended up getting another place. We moved into Grand Rapids. We're really happy with where we are.
Awesome.
It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
You got to survive. And that's what we did from day one. Is once we got up the next morning, it's like, okay, what do we got to do?
Yep.
I went back to the house probably 40, 50 times just picking through the ashes.
Right. Did all your clothes and stuff, they're all gone too, right? I mean, all new clothes. I remember doing all that. I went to Target that day to buy freaking underwear and pants and stuff. We had nothing. You know?
I went up, we had a pathway cut up to the bedroom where I could get through the house after the fire was out and everything was cleared. I thought, I'm going to check my closet. Maybe there's a few clothes or some shoes I could get.
Right.
The roof had come down on my closet.
Yeah.
You couldn't even see clothes. You couldn't see shoes. The whole roof came down on top of the closet.
They let you go back in there. Like, how do they know that it's structurally sound?
It gets cleared, basically. They
cleared it afterwards,
go through and
And they were gone, and then basically it was my property, and we just dealt with it until we sold it. Nice thing was, our contractor who had put an addition on the house, it was back in 2005, his son bought the property. So he's going to rebuild the studio. He's going to turn it into, there's 4 walls and the beams. That's all that's there. He's going to turn it into a contemporary home, and he'll live there. And we were really happy about that.
That's kind of a neat full circle type thing for sure.
Because you were saying it's kind of a historical place, right?
In 1901, it was built as a town hall.
Okay.
A few other businesses.
That was the studio, the hall part of it? Okay.
Yeah, my studio was in the town hall.
Yeah.
We had purchased it in 1998 from a friend of mine, Fritz Hundewagner. He was a painter, and he used the studio as his studio. And he moved on to Detroit. He got married, moved to Detroit. He's really doing well there. And I bought the place, and we were there 25 years.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. I love my studio, but that's also kind of a dream studio too. Like that kind of big, like ground level. I
look at it this way. I'll never have a studio like I did.
Yeah.
It was my first studio was about 800 square feet. Mm-hmm. And then I moved into 2,000 square feet, and both of those were in the boardwalk building.
Okay.
Back when it was nothing but a warehouse.
Yeah.
I had 2,000 square feet. I paid $200 a month for.
Yeah. You could get killer studio space back then. Yeah.
So then in '98, a friend of mine that wanted to move to Detroit, he sold us the place out in Talmadge, and we moved out there. Well, we stayed in town for probably another year or so, and then moved out there. All of our furniture, and I started shooting out there right away. Turned the town hall into my studio, and it was really nice. Worked out well.
Yeah. That's so cool. Did you have to, with your insurance, did they make you itemize everything? Because we had to itemize everything.
We've got one more year to finish that up.
Right.
And that is the most depressing thing you'll ever have to do.
Yeah.
We've pretty much gone through the studio. We know what I've lost there.
Yep.
But when it comes to kitchen things and clothing and then just stuff in your living room.
Yeah.
It's
stuff you never think about. I remember I have this vivid memory of me and my dad going into Walmart, because they make you itemize it with pricing. At least this was over 20 years ago now, so I don't know.
It hasn't changed.
So we are in Walmart with basically clipboards of items, and basically this is pre-internet, so it was to find what stuff cost for replacement value. And then when you're walking around in Walmart with a clipboard and checking prices on stuff, they don't love that. No. So the store managers were on our shit, who are you people? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? I don't know what they thought we were doing.
We're secret shoppers from corporate. This is all sanctioned. Just move it along.
We had to go into the back office and explain that to the store manager and whatever, like it, we had a total loss house fire, and we're itemizing this stuff for insurance or whatever. And I mean, it was fine after that or whatever, but like,
you don't want to get on the wrong side of Walmart security. Those are people not to be trifled with.
Not at all.
For sure.
Yeah. But that's so my story with my house fire though is with the insurance. That's how I ended up getting a lot of my good music gear that I still have because we basically completely ripped off the insurance
all
company.
6 of the original Picassos just down the drain. Yes. Tragic situation.
I swear the Mona Lisa was down here. No, so it was a couple things. It was, first of all, we were able to just like consolidate that money into buying just whatever, they just give you the check. They don't replace your stuff.
Sure.
But it was also, we had like broken cymbals, drum sets from pawn shops, crappy amps, speakers, just like stuff garage band kids have, right? That's what we were. And, this is again pre-internet, so like you couldn't like just look up what stuff was. So like they gave us full cost value on like cymbals that were like piece of shit cymbals to begin with that were broken, and then we were able to buy like full price Zildjian or Sabian cymbals with this stuff.
We're going to want to go ahead and edit a little bit of this out. We'll talk after the episode.
Screw them. No.
You're going to get Flo banging down the door from Progressive in about 10 minutes here calling your bluff, bro.
Yeah, so anyway, that's we were able to sort of like milk that into like so my Les Paul, that's my main guitar, that was like the guitar I got, and then my brother's drum set was the other really killer drum set we got out of that. So that was the silver lining, you could say. But it was about the same story though, man. It was like, what do you do? We ended up, in a hotel that night for a few maybe 2 days, and I went and crashed at my friend's parents' house for a while, and then we got a rental house while they rebuilt our house for 8 months, something like that, so it's basically the same story. But like the smell is like something you never forget. Sometimes will smell the smell in my mind or something, and
that could be a stroke also.
I know.
We're gonna get that checked out.
Toast or whatever is another thing. And then also like there's some stuff that you do save, like but the smoke damage is so bad. But there were a few things that were like, I just can't get rid of this or whatever, and like that smoke damage like never goes away. Again, you'll smell that forever. So it's a bizarre thing having your life burned down.
Yes, it is.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah,
it's surreal. I remember like being almost like out of body. Like maybe you felt that way too. At least you had like a distraction. We were just standing there like, well, and all we did was we had just gone grocery shopping. So we were only gone for not about an hour, and it was just like you go grocery shopping and you come back and your freaking life is burning down, It's just bizarre. Yeah. And what were you saying caused your fire?
Squirrels.
Yeah.
Squirrels chewing through the wiring. Yeah, that was what the fire marshal that was what his findings were.
Wow.
And what they did was, we had trimmed some trees because they were getting into our house through the attic. So we trimmed some trees so they couldn't get on the house, so they went into the carriage house. And we figured, if they make a nest up in the top of the carriage house, as long as they leave it alone, no problem. Well, they ended up chewing through some wires, which ignited everything. And we had things in the carriage house like books and fabric and a lot of things that could easily burn, really.
Right.
And that thing was up in flames completely in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Sounds like the squirrels were looking to settle the score a little bit.
They were probably pissed about the tree trimming.
Show him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like squirrels anymore, though.
Yeah, I would imagine that. That's terrible.
Damn.
But yeah, that happened, and what was it? We woke up, or my wife woke me up. I went outside and shot the whole day. We probably left there about 4:30 in the afternoon. That was when they finally got the fire out. Bizarre thing, we had a chicken coop next to our house with a run and everything.
Yeah.
Firemen were there on the other side of the chicken coop shooting into the house to put the flames out. By doing that, they kept the entire coop wet.
Yeah.
So our chickens survived.
Oh,
and we actually had a friend come down the night of the fire and pick up our chickens, and she's got them up at her farm in Rockford now. So all of our chickens survived.
Yeah.
We lost 2 cats.
Yeah.
And that was really hard.
That sucks, man.
Yeah,
we lost our dog in our fire. It was brutal. That was the heartbreaking part for sure.
Yeah.
The rest is stuff. Yeah. You know, and it sucks, but you know, that was definitely the part that sucked.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's just a wild story, and I'm sure everybody that's followed you online has seen it all because you were posting a lot of stuff about it and everything, and it was fucking crazy. I also have this vivid image when it happened to us because it was the fire was in the basement, and that's where our music stuff was. Oh. And I remember after it was out, like we were saying, you know, it was like the fire department like lets you in or whatever, like they clear it. But I mean, this was like the same day. So I mean, it's like that night. And I just vividly remember looking down the basement stairs, and all that water goes into the basement, you know? And so there's probably 2 feet of like, basically, and it's still like boiling water because it's so hot. And just seeing guitars just floating. Like, it was
heartbreaking.
so weird and surreal. And then I was showing you my guitars there, and I was telling you I got into building them. Well, what got me into building them was my original Strat that went through that fire, then went up in the rafters at my dad's for 20 plus years. And like 3 years ago, I guess it was during COVID and whatever, when everybody was stuck at home and shit, I pulled it out of there and rebuilt it. So the Strat that went through the fire, and it's all like crazy and everything, I had to rebuild the entire thing. So it was like my very first real guitar. So it was kind of like I don't know, coming back to it, rebuilding it, you know, like making it live again. And then like doing that got me into like building guitars. But cool. So I've restored 3 guitars that came out of that fire actually. Wow. And the fire was so hot, it blew the truss rod out of the back of the neck. You know, the guitar has a metal rod in the neck, and it like blew out the wood. That rod heated up. So
holy
crazy, man. Gosh. Yeah. So with that, you got this fire sale thing going on.
Yeah, what's happened, this is really kind of bizarre. After the fire took place and everything, a few days later, my niece and her husband went in, and they were able to pull out my abstract nude show that had been framed and matted.
Okay.
I'd had it in about 3 different galleries, different showings. They were able to pull all of that out, and I've had a couple of friends help me with cleaning that. And then we had a flat file cabinet that was...
I hope that was on camera. Did we see it? Damn, the cat she is going crazy right now. Sorry, go ahead.
We had a flat file cabinet in the studio. Is old steel case flat file. 80% of my pictures that were in that flat file survived.
Nice.
Wow.
And so the framed pieces that my niece was able to save, and the flat pieces that were in the flat file, those are all for the fire sale.
Awesome.
And that'll be 22nd and 23rd of March. 22nd will be from 5 to 9. Then the 23rd will be from 12 to 5. That's a Saturday.
Yeah.
We wanted to try to do it on Sunday, the 24th, which is the 1-year anniversary of the fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they were booked for the Sunday, so we took the Friday and the Saturday.
That still counts. That's still a 1-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
We'll be thinking about it Sunday.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to make that.
Cool.
That sounds very cool.
Well, I'll have a lot. As far as my loose prints, I've got some of my abstracts. I've got pictures from New Orleans, from Italy. Oh, gosh. Some of my fashion pictures.
Yeah.
And then just some simple portraits. So there's a huge variety of things I've got there.
Sweet. That superior steel case engineering.
Oh, God, baby. Yeah. You can't say anything bad about it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
For the trips you were talking about, like for New Orleans and Italy, were you doing business stuff there or just on vacation and kind of shooting while you're in the area? Or?
In Italy, I actually was honeymooning and ended up working.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Photographing.
How'd that go over with the wife, out of curiosity?
Oh, she enjoyed it. She's like, well,
nice,
we got a few perks from the guy that owned the apartment we were in.
And I guess probably right off of that situation too, right? Like it's all square with Uncle Sam. We're here on business at this point.
Well, and I was able to come back and say, well, I've worked in Italy now.
Very cool.
And they provided me, I photographed this apartment for them. They wanted some architectural shots. I was like, heck yeah, I can do this all in one afternoon, and then I'll send them the slides once I get back home. And probably about 3 months later, I get a brochure where they had used all my photographs and put my name on the brochure. And yeah, it's like, now I've worked in Italy.
Very neat. Yeah. Nice thing to have on the resume for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And New Orleans has just been for fun. I go down there. I love being in New Orleans. My wife and I both do. And I've been down there, 4 times now. And we'll continue going back. It's just the whole spirit of the place. We stay in different areas every time we go there. One time we were there for 6 weeks in the 9th Ward. And it was just a phenomenal experience. So you stayed
down there for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
We were just there for about a week, and it was really disappointing because a week you just don't have time to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You've got to go every day. Whereas we went down, when we stayed in the 9th Ward, we were there for 6 weeks. We brought our bikes with us. We drove down there, and we just had a ball. We got to know the people in the area.
Yeah. 6 weeks, that's a real time. That's kind of actually living there.
You get a feel for what it actually is. Like you say, you're living there.
Yeah. That's one place I've never been in the country, and I definitely want to get there.
As a musician, you need to go.
It's supposed to be pretty cool.
You need to go. You can go to an area called Frenchman Street.
Yeah.
You walk up and down the sidewalks, and you can listen to each bar with their music.
Right.
There'll be jazz, there'll be blues.
Yeah.
Rock, anything you could imagine there. And it's a great place.
Well, I like creepy stuff too.
You'll love New Orleans. There's a lot of creepy stuff down there.
Yeah.
When was the first time you went there? Like, were you there pre-Katrina, post-Katrina?
Oh, yeah. I was there pre-Katrina, 95. Me and a buddy did a road trip down there, and it was the best time. We just had a ball. It's really bizarre. We stopped at this place as the visitor center. And we got these coupons from this place, and we were staying in 5-star hotels in the French Quarter for $25 a night. Wow. $25 a night. In 95.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And we just had a ball down there. My wife had been there before, and we had never been there together. And so we went down there in 2021 and just had a great time. We rented an Airbnb in the Bywater area. And then the following year, we stayed in the 9th Ward. And that was an education in itself, because you're living with people that had their homes decimated.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because we felt like this trip in New Orleans kind of prepared us for that fire that we had in our home. Because the people next door to us had lost their home for 2 years.
Yes.
They had to move up north for a year, and then when they did move back to New Orleans, they were living in their backyard for a year till their house was rebuilt. And so just the stories and the things they shared with us, it sunk in, and we thought about it a lot. And then, it kind of helped us when we were recovering.
It's so crazy sometimes, just those little coincidences and how that stuff kind of plays out. How, obviously the city pre and post structurally presumably was much different.
Yeah.
Did you feel like a different vibe from the people before the hurricane and after? I mean, was it like a tangible thing different when you went down there, just mentality wise?
When I went down there, it still felt like a mess. Well, we were there right after Hurricane Ida. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you still had people there depending on FEMA for just meals alone. And it was vastly different from the time that I was there in 95 till the time I was there in 21. I actually wanted to go down during Katrina, but I didn't have any contacts. I didn't know who to work with.
Right.
And to get into the city at that time, it was so devastated. You had to have either press credentials or you had to have contacts.
Be in some sort of organization or whatever.
Exactly, and I didn't have that.
Yeah. Sure.
But I really wanted to go down there. And when we went down, we stayed in the 9th Ward in 2022. And we were, like I say, we were there 6 weeks. There are still houses in the 9th Ward that aren't repaired from Katrina.
Yeah. Wow. There's tons of stuff, as my understanding is that there's tons of stuff in the city. And I've heard from people that it was, it's pretty different as far as, a lot of buildings are gone and Well,
in the 9th Ward, you had a whole community. You had beauty shops, you had stores, you had auto mechanics, you had a whole little community there, all of those businesses were wiped out.
Yeah.
They had their own restaurants, their own little stores. There's one restaurant in that area now and probably 2 bars in that area. And that's it.
Damn, that's crazy.
A couple of gas stations, maybe. But it's just sad the way it's come back.
Is the food good down there? What's the food scene like?
Food's the best.
Soul food kind of stuff?
It's all
seafood,
Cajuns,
probably?
a lot of
Cajun,
seafood.
right.
Po' boys.
Yeah, po' boys.
Yeah.
Everything down there is good. Yeah, it's just good.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
There we go. There. Yeah, the food down there is fantastic.
You down there during Mardi Gras at all or any of that? Or?
Last time we went there in January, is the beginning of Mardi Gras, and we hit a couple of parades, and we had some friends that were staying. They live in Uptown, and we checked them out, and it was crazy. I mean, the parades were great. It's a different world.
Another great opportunity for tasteful nudes.
Mardi Gras.
Yeah, did you have your camera handy?
Actually, no, I didn't.
Camera in one hand, stack of beads in the other.
There you go. Oh, that would have been fun. But it was, the whole place, especially once Mardi Gras, the season of it takes place, it's just a party everywhere. There are people dressed in party clothes, middle of the day, walking down the street, and it just, it's got its own vibe to itself.
I was just going to say, I've never been there, but just what you kind of hear from afar, it seems like it's almost like kind of an isolated, like subculture is maybe not the right way to put it, but obviously different spots in the U.S. have a lot different feel. That just seems like it's kind of its own little world down there, which is such a neat thing to think about.
Yeah,
Somebody
it is.
said that, and I never thought about it like this, that New Orleans is like, it's the northernmost point of the Caribbean. And so it's like, like you don't think about it like that because it's America or whatever. But
Well, the
it's
proximity
actually
to that stuff, it's like if you're going to come up here, like there's probably a good chance you're going to settle in the closest proximity area.
So it's this crazy melting pot of all these different cultures or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's French and
Spanish,
and
English,
then Haitian and all, whatever, all that kind of stuff in there too.
Yeah.
And all the crazy, is it Santeria or whatever? Like it's like sort of voodoo-y, but not or whatever.
There's
like
voodoo, but you'll never really see the real thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because you got to know the people to really see that. There's all kinds of tourist stuff there.
Yeah, of course.
And French Quarter is basically for the tourists.
Okay, you're right.
There's good drinking and good bars and stuff like that, and good music there. But really, the French Quarter is just for the tourists.
Gotcha.
You get to know some people on the fringes, like the Huma Indians or some of the Cajuns in different areas or the Acadians. Then it could be quite an experience.
Yeah. I want to get down there. We should
on
take
site, on location pod. Just saying, man. Once again, a sweet write-off action.
There you go. It takes 2 days to get there. That's all.
Right.
Less than 24 hours.
Nice. Sweet. Real quick with the fire sale, I just want to tell people where it is before we take a break here. It's at the DAC, right? Which we were just discussing. Our friend Jesse Beveridge, who was on a couple of weeks ago, used to own those buildings or whatever we were talking about. So, all right, we'll definitely check that out. So, all right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk about some news and whatever.
Sounds great.
Oh, wait, we got to do the thing. We got to get the thing.
Yeah, top priority. Top priority. Right, in fairness, we've got the clap, but we need the director.
So what's going on there, pal?
Not too much, man. A hectic week as always, my friend. I know the same is true for you.
Not really. This week was actually pretty low key.
Quite relaxing.
Pretty good. Yeah, it was a pretty good week actually. Yeah, yesterday we went and got a random ice cream run at like 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
It was a pretty chill week, all things considered.
Speaking of true degenerate shit, and like ice cream in March, baby.
It was pretty bad. But you want to tell me what's going on in the world here? You got things happening?
Yeah, a little bit of a lackluster setup there, but let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Is it gonna work? Hey!
Dangerville Podcast presents News of the World.
Still pretty loud.
Pretty loud.
Got the soundboard back finally, though.
You seem like a classy, upstanding gentleman, so I'm going to apologize in advance of all of these, but we'll go ahead and dive right in here. A stingray with no male companion gives birth in her mountain aquarium.
Oh.
Pretty wild story, yeah.
I think I did see this, actually.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So a rust-colored stingray who has spent much of her life gliding around the confines of a storefront aquarium in North Carolina's Appalachian Mountains became pregnant and gave birth to several pups, even though she hasn't shared a tank of water with a male of her species in at least 8 years.
Damn.
Pretty crazy, yeah.
Wow.
Though scientists are still working to identify the father, it was noted that the pups bear a striking resemblance to the nighttime security guard affectionately known as Stingray Steve. Yeah. Stingray Steve has fiercely denied the allegations, noting that he feels confident he will be exonerated from fatherhood after definitive results come out during the Maury Povich show scheduled to air late next week. So
We gotta get him on this podcast to confirm if he is the father.
is Maury Povich still alive? As a
I
side
have
note?
no idea.
It's dawned on me as I was writing this lackluster joke. I probably should research that one a little bit
I think he's in a museum.
You shot him actually last month. Yeah.
Who is the other guy? Springer or whatever. He's dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's dead.
Pulling out Jerry.
Yeah, indeed.
Steve Wilco remains, as far as I know.
Who's that? Was he
The bodyguard,
yeah, the
Steve.
big bodyguard guy,
I was never
yeah.
a big Jerry Springer guy, but
Yeah, no.
all right. Moving right along
All
here,
right.
gentlemen. Caught on camera. Kalamazoo man crashed his truck into a tree with 5 kids in the bed.
Oh,
Recent story, pretty crazy. Yeah.
dang.
So a neighbor's Ring camera captured the moment the driver of a pickup truck crashes into a tree with 5 kids riding in the bed, one of whom was ejected from the vehicle.
Oof.
Fortunately, injuries were minor, and everyone is expected to make a great recovery.
Okay,
so
that's
good news there.
Yeah.
After hearing news of a man having 5 kids in his bed, he was immediately dapped up by several members of the Catholic priesthood.
Wow. Oof.
All right. Well, if you thought that one was that one really nails home the lackluster nature of the joke. All right. This is one of those that's been chilling on the back burner because of its terrible mediocrity, and comparatively that tells you where this one's going. But woman arrested after police found $2,500 worth of Stanley cups in her car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So the craze for stainless steel Stanley drinking cups reached new levels when a woman was arrested and accused of stealing 65 of them, worth almost $2,500 from a store in California. Yeah.
Damn.
The suspect is on record as calling the allegations of her stealing the Stanley Cups absurd, noting that she has no interest in hockey whatsoever. Adam Graves is like, do you mind if I get one of those cups? Little hockey joke for you there.
Yeah,
Let's go Red Wings.
I've heard that one. Somebody else was making that joke online too.
Hey, it's a damn shame.
Yeah.
Should have jumped on that far sooner. All right, boys, we got a couple more here.
All right.
Rare two-faced calf born last month at a Louisiana farm is flourishing despite the odds.
Damn.
Kind of a cool story there, yeah. A rare calf born with 2 faces, 4 eyes, 2 noses, 2 mouths, and 2 ears, which why they felt they need to describe what constitutes 2 faces, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, only 2 ears. That's crazy.
Yeah, indeed. Fair enough.
Oh,
All right.
damn.
So Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry issued a statement saying that while the 2-faced animal probably won't have much use on the farm, there will always be a place for him in politics.
That's very fitting.
We got the image pulled up. Wow, that is kind of disturbing. Kind of wild.
I've seen one at some crazy roadside museum out west somewhere on a road trip.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that thing looks like a Mastodon album cover waiting to happen right there.
They also had Elvis's motorcycle. It was like Elvis's motorcycle and a 2-headed calf.
God.
We were like, this is awesome.
You know what Elvis's motorcycle and a two-headed calf have in common? I really don't have a joke. All right, last but not least, gentlemen. Motorcyclist hospitalized after crash. We've got all kinds of crash news happening
Is he on
right
Elvis's motorcycle?
Sadly, he was not. Yeah. So a motorcyclist was hospitalized after he was rear-ended near Hudsonville Monday evening.
Oh,
there's a story right here in Grand Rapids. Yeah. So the man handled the situation gracefully, but did request that if he is going to be rear-ended again in the future, that he be at least taken out to a nice dinner beforehand the next time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your
The Dangerville Podcast News of the World.
All right.
Yes. Tremendous material there, gentlemen. You're welcome.
That's good stuff. I had a bunch of new stuff, and it's all on my phone, which is being used as the camera. I literally can't talk about any of it.
That'll happen.
The one I remember, though, was the kid that played in Star Wars, the Phantom Menace, the kid, young Anakin Skywalker. Jake something.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the other.
Beat up. See if you can look up. He's in a fucking psych hospital or something. He had some kind of crazy breakdown.
Really?
I had heard that he had committed suicide, but apparently that's not true.
It was only his career that died prematurely.
Yeah. Okay. He's taken so much shit for being that kid in Star Wars.
Really?
Yep.
I remember that first new Star Wars caught a pretty significant amount of shit for Jar Jar and everything.
Yeah, the Phantom Menace.
And also, it's not like the world of childhood actors, is lacking of people that are disturbed. I mean, that's a tough way to grow up, to be sure.
To be fair, he's incredibly bad in this movie. Oh, wow. Look at him.
Huh.
Not recognize
That's
him.
quite the facial hair situation.
Yeah, it's not great either. He's like, man, I'm no Hayden Christensen, though.
That's what I was thinking you're talking about at first.
Maybe he's just depressed about the career he's chosen.
Yeah, pretty much. You a film fan at all, Tim?
Off and on. Yeah.
Do you geek out on the cinematography and stuff, or do you just kind of
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I like a lot of English movies.
Okay.
Where the cinematography is phenomenal.
Really?
There's one show. It's a bizarre show. It's incredibly filmed. It's called Magray. It's on, I think, one of the British channels.
Yeah.
And the guy that played Mr. Bean,
I was just gonna make a Mr.
Rowan
Bean
Atkinson.
joke.
Rowan Atkinson, he plays the detective.
That's so funny.
But it's a
joke.
It's a straight and serious role,
Yeah.
and the series is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cinematography is just
How
incredible.
is he
funny.
in it as a serious actor?
Phenomenal. He owns it.
That's
He
hilarious.
Totally. It is a complete opposite from where he was with Mr. Bean, with all the slapstick and the physical comedy.
Yeah.
He is a very calm person and always in control.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's always so cool to see comedians. We were kind of talking a little bit about this a week or two back, but seeing them make that transition from especially a slapstick physical comedy type guy to playing a serious
But she's
kind of muted role. Yeah.
Well, I'd always heard he was really quite talented, and I was just used to seeing the comedy that he did.
Yeah.
But to see him in this dramatic role, it totally changed the way you look at him.
Damn.
Totally changed.
What
it.
is it, like a Netflix or Amazon type show, or is it on BBC?
I think it's on BBC or Masterpiece, one of those kind of channels or so.
Yeah.
It's used to be through Prime, Amazon Prime or something. And I know you've got to have a subscription to something else to get it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he's got, each show is an hour and a half long. He's got 4 shows, and that's it.
Okay.
Damn.
But really, really, I mean, it'll grip you with it.
Wow.
You know what I just heard, and this might have been one of those things that I knew years back and then just evaporated from my memory for reasons I'll never understand.
What could it be?
Robert De Niro was apparently offered the role of Hannibal Lecter before Anthony Hopkins.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Kind of a mind blower, right?
Yeah.
No, that other dude played Hannibal Lecter before. The dude,
Brian Cox, I think.
Brian Cox.
Manhunter?
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about
I
this.
remember Manhunter. Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Brian Cox is a fucking fantastic actor. I don't know if you've seen that Succession show, and he's been on a million other things, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, Super Troopers captain, maybe is arguably his finest actor ever. But he is brilliant in Succession. That is an all-time great character, regardless of movie, TV. It's fucking fantastic.
Anybody caught that new Dune yet? You seen that?
Have not. I'm still waiting to see the first Dune.
Dune, the part 2 Dune is not out yet.
Yeah, the new Dune. It's been out for a couple weeks.
Dune 2?
Yeah.
Oh,
Part
snap.
2 or
No,
whatever.
I have not. No, I saw the Timothy Chalamet, who I'm a huge fan of. I saw the first new Dune, but not the second one.
Yeah, the new one's supposed to be amazing. Everybody's talking about it.
First one was pretty incredible. That director, speaking of cinematography, Denis Villeneuve, that guy is just out of control.
That's one I want to catch.
Great films all the way around. I cannot speak highly enough of this cat.
Yeah, I got to see that shit. If it's not the original Dune though, with Sting and
with the guy from what was that terrible David Lynch show that guy was
I
from?
barely remember that movie because I was on acid that night.
exactly. And
That's kind of the only way to watch it, in fairness.
on acid.
It kind of helped the movie, really.
For sure. That's definitely one of the worst movies ever made. That's why it's so great. I do want to catch this new one though, which is also probably.
Let's be careful on the trailer here, B-Dub.
Yeah.
Get ripped.
I don't know how I feel about this Zendaya girl who's in everything lately.
This is like the only thing I've seen her in. I know she's in that Euphoria show.
She's in that.
Which I watched like 10 minutes of it, and there's something odd about, like, it's made for adults, but there's something weird about being a middle-aged man watching a show about like teenage kids doing things they probably shouldn't be.
She's like the Spider-Man's girlfriend, dude.
Oh yeah,
the new ones or
as you know,
whatever.
I'm tapped out on these superhero movies.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
she's kind of the it girl of the moment, though. She's been having a nice little run here.
She is. About Oppenheimer, and you guys catch that at all?
Did not see that yet.
Yeah, that's worth watching.
Is it?
Like that? The cinematography is unbelievable in that. It switches back and forth between color and black and white. And there's a lot of he puts in a lot of like really trippy stuff in just like cut between scenes and stuff. It's really good, but it's also stupid long. It's like almost 4 hours long or something. And
I got to rent that then. Yeah.
we went and saw it in the IMAX here.
Oh,
and,
wow.
It had like something happened where like the film broke in the middle or something. It was like on like the national news. They had to like re-put the print together. Did you hear about any of this crap?
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah,
but sorry, I'm distracted by this. Is this from the Oscars, I'm guessing? Or is this from the movie?
It's
What the
from some
hell is
other
this?
award show, dude. She like showed up looking like this.
It's from like the Dune 2 premiere, kind of like the red carpet event.
Yeah.
That's certainly a look of some kind.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was an old outfit from like the old like 100-year-old Metro movie or something that some other
looks like
actress
Metropolis.
It looks
Yeah,
like a
it was-
RoboCop
it was a-
costume, but with a few
yeah.
things missing.
wore. It's a really old thing that some other actress wore 50 plus years ago, and she had it completely retrofitted just for this thing.
Just to be naked. Is she actually naked under there? Like, what's happening here?
I don't know. There's a lot of metal. It's interesting.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good memes that came from this, comparing her to C-3PO and Krang.
Well, exactly.
They're pretty good.
First
Got
thing
the
that came to
Krang
my
outfit
mind,
for
yeah.
sure.
Oppenheimer cleaned up at the Oscars. And by the
Yeah.
way, so I'm one of 10 people that still likes to watch the Oscars. I'm going to go down the whole rabbit hole. It's kind of a sham now compared to what it used to be. But in any event, I like the Oscars.
Cool.
Completely spaced on it. I'm on Twitter, some shit the other day.
I
like,
didn't watch it either.
saw the thing. I'm like, God damn it, I completely forgot about it.
I'm just getting old. Like, it's past my bedtime.
It's fun to watch. I'm still a movie guy,
me
so
too,
it's
yeah.
fun
too.
to have a night where it's kind of all about
Yeah.
the best air quotes
yeah.
movies.
I
at
just hear about
least, but-
stuff I've never seen either,
And
or never heard of. The crazy, like, I don't know, indie stuff or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you know what I did just watch? I don't know if either one of you guys have seen this, but the other darling from the Oscars a couple years back, that Everything Everywhere All at Once movie. You guys see
Seen
this
that,
one?
I didn't
Okay.
see it. No. I heard it's amazing, though. But
It's pretty amazing.
He's got a huge opinion coming right here.
I'm not going to get real into it 'cause I want you to see it. My overarching take is it's sweet, it's great, I loved it, it was very fun, cool, different, etc. Having said all that, there's a butt coming.
Having said that,
there's a Sir Mix-a-Lot, Jennifer Lopez size butt coming here. At the end of the day, it's multiverse Matrix with hot dog fingers. Essentially,
fingers.
You don't know about the hot dog fingers thing? Okay.
No.
I won't spoil it for you.
Talking about Trump's fingers?
No, I can't believe you haven't at least heard about the Everything Everywhere All at Once hot dog fingers.
No.
Jamie Lee Curtis right here, your girl, by the way.
Wow.
A24 Flick, which is the best studio out there now. I will continue to say A24 rules. Everything they do is awesome. It's the one place still making new inventive movies that aren't Iron Man Part 49 insert, bullshit superhero thing.
A24 is the name of the studio?
Yeah. Okay. It's a, Miramax Universal type thing.
Yeah. She's in that, she's in a lot of stuff. Remember I was telling you about that Haunting in Venice?
Yeah.
She's in that too. Yeah. Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, she's great in that.
Yeah. All right, so what was it? You liked it?
Yeah, it was choice, but it's so close to the Matrix in so many ways. I couldn't get it out of my mind the whole time. Just thinking, everybody knows this is kind of a pseudo Matrix ripoff, right?
Gotcha.
Without Florence Fishburne, which at the end of the day is kind of the most critical part to having a Matrix type flick.
Except for the last Matrix movie they made without him, which
that's not a Matrix movie, my friend. Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah. This spring. You better kill that beat-up before you get us freaking pulled off of.
I'm hoping a trailer they're okay with. We'll see.
Our last episode, we got pulled off of YouTube or not allowed on YouTube. We got blocked.
So, jeez.
Yeah. So we're still trying to figure that out. So.
Oh, you just missed the hot dog finger. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Don't spoil the hot dog figures.
What else is going on? You got anything over there, B-Dub, that we should be looking at?
I'll find something for you.
I thought I sent you a few things, didn't I?
Yeah, it's on the phone. That's being used as the camera. So,
Jordan sent me some new UFO stuff.
Really?
Yeah. You ever follow any UFO stuff at all? What's going on?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Nope, couldn't be less interested.
I used to be into it a lot, and it's still kind of fun. And we got this friend, shout out to Jordan, who comes on and kind of keeps us up to date on what's
our resident UAP expert on the show here.
He just sent me this one that's some kind of it looks like a giant lightning bug. And it's just some guy with his phone. So you can't tell what the hell's going on, but I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I'm always I don't know, man. I can't see nothing.
I just figure, if I see it one of these days, then okay, I'll believe it. But until then, I'm not going to worry about it.
Related question, what's the craziest thing you have either just captured by happenstance on photography or have been asked to shoot specifically?
Some spirits, maybe?
Some guy asked me to photograph him jacking off.
Ooh.
In my defense, I had my reasons. It was going to be a lot more artistic than you would have imagined. Yeah.
I'm in the studio. This guy comes in. And no appointment at all. He just stops in. He said, "Yeah, I'd like to do a shoot. I hear you're a photographer, blah, blah, blah." I said, "All right, where did you hear about me and what's all's going on here with this? What do you want?" He said, "Well, I'd like to have some nudes. I know you do nudes a lot." And I said, "You want just fine art nudes? You're going to pose? You're going to do?" He said, "Well, I want to warm up first." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? My father-in-law is back in the office, in the studio. Little 80-year-old man working on negatives, putting things away. He's listening to me talking to this guy. The guy's like, "Well, I gotta warm up first. And then I want you to do pictures of me masturbating." I said, "Get the fuck out of here. Just get the fuck out of here right now." He didn't even get undressed. I said, "Just get out of here."
Yeah.
Damn.
I do have And I've had some good stories from weddings. I had a wedding. This was back in the 90s, early 90s. And groom was a Chicago firefighter. Groom and bride were built the same. They were like weebles. They wobble, but they don't fall down. Truly. Everything goes well. They're out in Ionia at some Catholic church. Ceremony goes well. We do some pictures. We get to the reception site, and everything's going okay. Toasts. Go to do the cake cut. And all of the groomsmen in the wedding party get behind me. I'm setting it up to do the shots of the cake cut. I tell them how to cut it, what to do, and how to look at the camera. All of the groomsmen start a cheering section. Smush the cake, smush the cake. The bride puts a finger up in his face and says, "Do not embarrass me in front of my family."
Ooh, yeah.
He didn't listen.
Yeah.
He smushed that cake. That girl doubled up her fist, caught him in the jaw, and put his ass on the floor. He hit the floor, and you could hear a pin drop.
Wow. It was the groom or one of the
It was
friends?
the groom. It was the groom. She laid her own husband out right there.
Man.
Wow.
And then, okay, he's on his knees. She picks his ass up by the tie and dresses him out in a corner. I just slipped away from there as quietly and quickly as I could.
Yeah.
I'm standing by the bar later that night, looking over the crowd, getting some candid shots and stuff. And best man comes up, kind of elbows me in the ribs. And, "Hey, how'd you like that cake cut?" I don't know. I just want to get out of here alive. That's all. He said, "Well, I'll tell you what. If they give you any trouble, you go ahead and do your pictures. But if they give you any trouble, me and the other guys that are in the groomsmen were prison guards at the Ionia State Prison.
Ooh,
We'll
yeah.
mace their ass if they give you trouble." I just want to get the hell out of here, please.
Damn.
And so I wrapped up my pictures, met with the bride and groom later. Not a word was said, and I did not shoot the cake smushing.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it this way. If she did that to her husband, you know what she'd do to the photographer?
Now, did they ask you back to take the divorce photos?
No, once they got their albums, I've never heard of them from them again. Yeah, so they're no telling.
A relationship therapist, I am not, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that one probably didn't end too well. Yeah, if that's happening on the wedding day, probably not a great sign.
I just wonder if he had to have x-rays. Because she
hell of a right hook on that bride, though, in fairness. Yeah,
she
like
clocked
Mike
him.
Tyson.
Oh, my God. Now, everybody was watching, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must have felt like and how awkward that must have been watching that go down on that day in that setting. Oh, my God. I can't imagine.
You guys ever read Bored Panda? You know what Bored Panda is?
I've heard of it.
It's basically a blog of just stupid crap, and like sometimes they have these things on there that are like, "What's the craziest thing that you've ever seen at a wedding?" And people will tell these exact same stories like you just told.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of those about the wife saying, "Don't smush my face in the cake."
Yeah.
And a bunch of them like straight up like get divorced, like it's over. They annul the marriage and stuff. It's like, holy cow! But,
I did a wedding. This was one time. It's way out in the country. Another little Catholic church kind of thing. Total Hispanic wedding. I didn't understand a single word of the ceremony, anything going on. Luckily, they understood me for taking the pictures. We get to the reception site. It's a hall way out in the country somewhere. I don't even know where I was. Everybody's seated down. They're having dinner. It's going really well. And I'm probably the second or third white guy in that room.
Yeah.
That's it. And some guy sitting down, he's eating. He's like, "Hey, where's the band? Where's the band? It should be here by now." And somebody said, "Well, I thought they were playing down at the Last Chance," or something like that. So when somebody said that, automatically 6 guys get up. They're going to go get the band. They're going to go get the band. Luckily, these guys get in their truck, they head down the road, and they get down about a quarter mile. Here comes the band. They had a flat tire. So band comes in, they set up, everything's going well. Music was phenomenal. Food was incredible. These women in the big colorful skirts dancing and everything. I'm down on the dance floor shooting the bride and groom and all the people partying and everything. In the back of the room is a big mosh pit, at least it seems. It's just a whirlwind of bodies. I look over my shoulder, and as soon as it starts, it ends and goes right out the door. And I look back at the back of the room, and there's blood all over the walls.
Holy shit. Whoa.
2 guys pulled out Bowie knives on each other.
Holy shit.
Both the guys were brothers. Yeah. And they were both fighting over a woman they met that night.
Wow.
So, you know, with the band earlier and then the knife fight. And then what happens is, what I thought was weird about this whole reception was I walked in there and there were 2 armed guards, 357s on their hips. I've never done a wedding reception with armed guards. They knew what to expect, I suppose.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then once the 2 guys were cutting on each other, they pushed them out of the hall, locked the door down. They said, no one will leave this hall, and if you do, you will not be allowed back in. That includes bride and groom. And I'm thinking, shit, I hope I got all my film in here. I hope I didn't leave anything in the car. And luckily, it went well, and you know, I shot the rest of the night. But yeah, they had women scrubbing blood off the walls. It looked like something out of Angel Heart. In the back of that, yeah.
I'm going to ask the obvious question. Do you have pictures of this woman? And if so, how gorgeous was she? I mean, to inspire 2 brothers to come to blows with Bowie knives at a wedding.
They pulled them out of their
One would
boots.
suspect she's a bit of a looker, right?
I would imagine so. Oh, there were some very beautiful women there that night. Very beautiful women. But these 2 guys, well, it's that machismo thing. It's like, I saw her first. She's going home with me. You know, and they started fighting over her.
Jesus, that is...
That's not something I could understand, really.
Wow. That's a shocker. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Holy shit.
And then you always have the things at weddings, like little fights and things that don't go well. And, you know, the limo is late to show up or something, you know.
That's why I don't think I could deal with, I couldn't do it. I couldn't have done it.
Well, I kind of walked in there. I always had like an air about myself. It's like, I'm here to do my job. I do what I do. And if you leave me alone, I will be more successful. And generally, 90% of my clients were that way. You know, they'd say, you're the professional, you do your thing. And I'd go off, I'd shoot the whole day and the whole night. They wouldn't even realize how much I'd shot. Yeah. In fact, a number of times I'd go up to the bride and groom. I'd say, I'm headed out, wrapped up the day. So what did you do? It's like, well, you didn't see it, but I've been working all day.
I have 5,000 images.
Oh, yeah. And but that was also the nature of the way I worked. It's very hands-off. I was actually one of the first photographers that was doing weddings here in Grand Rapids to shoot it in a photojournalistic style. Oh, okay. And the whole thought behind it was to let people go off, have a good time, and I'll capture those pictures. And if they're off having a good time, those pictures are going to look better. Yeah. As opposed to me sticking my nose in there in front of them and say, smile, do this, do that.
It becomes just like a staged, you know, fake arbitrary thing as opposed to capturing the moment and the feel and the sentiment of the day, which is what I assume you would want.
You know? It's all on emotion. One last story on the weddings, and this really, it always gets me, I'll never forget this. Went to St. Alphonsus photographing a wedding. We did all the formals ahead of time. We're waiting for the ceremony. We had, probably about 30 minutes before the ceremony. Well, I'm outside having a cigarette, and I'd heard about this. The bride, her grandfather was terminally ill. So he had one of the uncles bring him to church so he could see his granddaughter. And he didn't even get out of the car. And I heard about this transaction going to go on where she was going to come out, see him, they would kiss, then she'd go back into church, he'd go back home. I was about probably about 50 yards away, smoking a cigarette at the time, and I just waited for them to do their thing and zoomed in with a long zoom lens, got the whole interaction. Well, 2 weeks later, she comes in and picks up her proof book. And there's a 2-page spread of this interaction of her kissing her grandfather, a few tears being shed. And I'd never mentioned it to her at the time of the wedding. You know, she just went on and did her thing. And she just broke out in tears. The grandfather had passed since the wedding, And those were the last pictures of him alive. She said, no matter what happens to me, whether I get a divorce, lose my husband, lose my family, anything, these pictures are going to stay with me for the rest of my life.
Damn.
It's got to be so cool to hear something like that. It's got to be one of those moments where it's like, holy shit, this is a pretty cool thing that I get to do.
And I knew what was happening all along.
Right.
But it was the hardest thing to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
You got to see these pictures. Damn, they're so cool.
Wow.
But it was, and there again is one of those things where, you do it to move people. You hope to make money so you can pay your bills. But when I make pictures, I want you to see it. And I want you to feel something from it. I want you, happy, sad, emotional, whatever. I want you to feel something. And, if you don't feel something, then, what's it for?
Right.
What if you could photograph anything, any person, alive or dead, no restrictions? If the answer is the inside of a black hole, that's awesome. Feasibility, aside, what would your answer be?
Keith Richards in 1972.
Okay.
Good answer.
I saw the Stones in 72 about 5 times on that tour. And I thought that was just the epitome of cool, what he was in 72 on that tour. And a friend of mine is an artist, and he can do these composite things. And drawing is just phenomenal.
Keith.
That's from 72.
Nice.
And I wanted a drawing of an artist friend of mine to do this drawing of Keith Richards on stage and me in the pit. But Keith Richards in 1972.
Yeah.
Me now.
Okay.
And we just never hooked up on it and never got it together. But that's something, if I had somebody I could photograph, I'd go back to 1972 and shoot the living fuck out of that tour.
That's awesome.
Damn. What would you do?
I wasn't prepared to answer this question. That's the benefit of being on this side of the table, my friend. You don't have to think.
I'm asking.
I'm going to throw it back at you to buy myself some time to
maybe
answer.
Something like the Civil War or something like that. Like if you could time travel to anything.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like that would be really intense and really crazy. Yeah. I mean, obviously there'd be crazy stuff before that, like, I don't know, Roman shit or something, but like
Dinosaurs? Hello.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. That's probably the answer.
Yeah.
All right. If I get to do a cheater answer here, it would have to be one of these time-lapse photos, right? The beginning of the universe. How about that? How about the inception of the universe?
Okay.
That'd be
Not the
cool.
greatest answer.
I guess that'd be okay.
Actually, let me retract that. If I'm being honest, probably Carmen Electra in 1997. Yeah. A slightly less tasteful nude in my mind, but, something like that would probably be right in my
I photographed Cindy Crawford one time.
Oh,
Did
yeah?
you really?
Nice.
This was a ball. I was scheduled to come in. She is promoting a line of furniture with Art Van. And it's her own line, Cindy Crawford Furniture, blah, blah, blah.
Really?
And she was doing this big thing at Art Van's biggest place here in town. And they were having everybody come up, get a quick picture with Cindy. Well, I was in between shoots. I was doing like 4 and 5 shoots a day at that time. And I'd just come from a hospice shoot that I was doing, had to fly over to Art Van. I had 2 minutes with her. They stopped everything, walked her off the stage just to be with me for 2 minutes.
Wow.
And I got her for 2 minutes. I did 12 shots and I was out the door in a minute and a half.
That's a hell of a change between all right, I'm going to roll from hospice to over to Cindy Crawford.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, all you would need with Cindy Crawford's 2 minutes as well.
I'd have time to snuggle at that point. In fairness, Cindy Crawford, you can make an argument she is one of the 3 most beautiful human beings to have ever existed.
Is she still around?
Oh, yeah.
Doing?
Yeah, I
I mean,
think
I'm sure
so.
she's still alive, but is she doing
She actually
stuff?
still does some print work. And she still does some things more family oriented, I'm sure, nowadays, because she's got kids and stuff
now and whatever.
But I know she's shot with some of the guys that I used to follow. Peter Lindbergh, some of the big photographers. She's still doing some print work, I've noticed.
So who were these photos for? Like, were these your
They were
personal use.
At the time, I was working with a social media company.
Okay.
And so I was out shooting events everywhere.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I spent a few years doing that. And then once that kind of came to a close, I moved right into the fine art field and just started doing my own thing where I didn't have to go and work for people anymore.
Right. That's crazy though, because like you said, she was like doing like a meet and greet kind of thing. And then like, I'd imagine she's like a true professional, or just like you pull her off and then what? She's like posing basically for these 2 minutes. Like what?
Yeah.
That's wild to be able to just like.
Oh, it was so cool. Well, and with her talent, and what she could do, it's like, okay, I just need a few nice headshots of you. Give me what you got.
Yeah.
And like I say, in 90 seconds, I was done. Yeah, it was that quick. It's like, ba 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 ba. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Shook her hand and left.
Any other celebrity encounters, anything like that?
Oh, I've shot the Rolling Stones. I've shot.
Oh, so you did get to
Jane's Addiction.
Oh, nice. Speaking of which, Dave Navarro is back in Jane's Addiction. Big news for the Jane's Addiction
cool.
fans.
Interesting.
I like it.
Yeah. That just came out today, I think. So yeah.
Oh God, did Alice Cooper one time.
Nice.
He was actually
Michigan native.
the very first big concert I went to. This is back in 1971.
Wow.
And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something in the music business after seeing that show. I mean, it's so professional. They came on stage in pure darkness, and when they hit the first chord, the lights lit up.
Nice.
And I'd never seen anything like that.
Well, just the like theatrical nature
Yes.
of that
Oh,
for
it
your
was
first
incredible.
show had to be a hell of a thing to see. I actually
was.
just watched. I saw Alice Cooper at Pine Knob this past summer.
Yeah.
First time I've ever seen it, but still great show. He's 72, 76 somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah.
Great energy, super
Oh,
fun
yeah.
show.
But in
awesome.
that days, it was Alice Cooper, the band. It wasn't just the guy.
That's what I
Alice
liked,
Cooper.
was the band. I liked his original band. And I photographed him when they had Rock the Rapids downtown.
Yeah.
Photographed him with that. And that was kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
He tried to avoid me. When I get excited sometimes and performers on stage or models on a runway, I'll tend to talk to them and say, get over here. Yeah, I get really pumped up. And I started talking to him on stage, and I know he could hear me.
Oh.
And so he started going to the other side of the stage.
He's probably like
And I'm
distracted.
like, fuck you, I'm coming after you. So I went to the other side of the stage, and then he went back to the other side. And I know it was because he was a little nervous of the way I was dealing with him, I guess.
If you're making Alice Cooper nervous,
I thought it was kind of cool myself.
Alice Cooper's like, this guy's a little much over here.
It kind of was that way. But I got a shot of him with bloodshot eyes looking right in the barrel of my lens.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Another good shot I got, Willie Nelson pointing at my lens under a full moon.
wow.
Yeah, that
Very
was a
cool.
cool time.
Also with bloodshot eyes, one would assume.
Most likely. Oh, yeah, most likely. My favorite time backstage is back in the 80s. A friend of mine had access. We got backstage at the Jazz Fest in Chicago. I was sitting in the back, just sitting there. I was going to shoot the show, the whole Jazz Fest for a Saturday night. And this guy comes and sits next to me. He's got the saxophone laying across his legs. He said, "You smell good." And I knew what he was talking about. I smelled like weed. I mean, it's like pig pen of
Is that
peanuts.
Stetson there?
Oh, yeah. Savage. But he said, "You smell good." And I said, "Well, you want some?" And I had a corncob pipe I used to smoke out of. And then I had a couple joints as well. And so we smoked the bowl weed backstage as Dexter Gordon, the jazz great.
Cool.
And he and I got high in Chicago, and
Nice.
I think it was 87, something like that.
I don't know who that is, but that's awesome.
Look him up. He's really famous, and he's a phenomenal sax player.
bet.
Just phenomenal.
Still alive?
No. He's gone in a few years. I don't know when he passed, but yeah, he's the old world jazz.
Yeah.
And at first, there he is. At first, when we were sitting down, I didn't know. I just thought he was like one of the backup musicians or something.
Yeah.
And then I find out from some of the people I was with, he's like, that's Dexter Gordon you're getting high with, you know that? Like, fucking cool.
That's awesome, yeah.
The jazz guys were like sort of the original weed smokers.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yeah.
That was what it was about.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, it seems to go so hand in hand, you know, just that kind
It
of
does.
sporadic, anything
improvising
goes nature. Yeah, exactly.
Best book to read about jazz is a book called Miles. It's about Miles Davis.
Sure.
It's an autobiography. And, oh, yeah, it'll clue you in on a lot.
I bet.
I'm always looking for an opportunity to bring this up because it's one of my favorite movies ever. Whiplash. Have you ever seen the movie
I've
Whiplash?
not seen that. I've heard
I
about
haven't
it.
seen it either.
You've got to watch this movie.
Okay.
I can't tell you how great this movie is, but the crux of it's essentially J.K. Simmons, if you know who that is. It's one of those you probably know if you've seen him guys.
Yeah.
But it's him and Miles Teller, and it's about a young, like, prodigy type jazz drummer who studied all the greats, and it's a super hard ass, like, Juilliard type instructor and their whole strife and everything. But great movie.
What's it called now?
Whiplash.
I'll look it up.
You will not be disappointed.
I know,
Cool.
I
Can't speak highly enough of this movie. It's great.
Yeah. Are you like a jazz guy? Like, what's your favorite kind of, music?
It's hard to say. One of my favorite bands is My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult.
Okay.
I love them. I've seen them about a dozen times. I like the Stones, but I like the Stones from the early 70s.
Right.
And back in the early 90s, I used to hang out at a place called the Reptile House.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little
And
bit. Yeah.
that was my home away from home. And you had Nine Inch Nails, you had Ministry, all those kind of groups.
Yeah.
Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's kind of I'm pretty into that wheelhouse, the industrial rock, industrial metal kind of stuff. I think I played the Reptile House, but it was like after it wasn't the Reptile House anymore. It had like reopened as something else for only like a year or something.
Yes, it did.
And I can't remember what that was called, but like I was really young and it was my brother's band.
Okay.
And like and I was just kind of like filling in that band, but it was like it wasn't the Reptile House anymore. But
the early 90s, you should have been there. They used to have a group come in from Chicago, I think it's from Chicago, called Billy Goat. Every woman in the front row takes their top off for Billy Goat. It's just the way it is. It's the way a Billy Goat show
Shout
goes.
out to Billy Goat.
There you go.
Dominant stage presence.
He's like, that's just the way it is. I don't make the rules, you know?
That's the Reptile right there. That's the
you go.
Reptile.
Nice.
It looks like Napalm Death played there. The Misfits played there multiple times.
Yeah.
That's a Toadies record in the background right there.
Yeah.
I love me some Toadies.
Side note, Ministry also played at that Alice Cooper show that I saw this summer.
Yeah.
The loudest concert I've ever been to. And I've been to my fair share of metal shows and concerts overall. Holy Christ, that is a whole different experience. I was like, I'm not making out of this one unscathed one bit. Forgot the earplugs. That was an experience to be sure. But
I actually saw Deep Purple the year that they broke the Guinness World Records.
For decibels or something?
For decibels,
yeah. Damn.
They played with Rod Stewart and the Faces,
Nice.
and I think they were the opening band.
Yeah.
But they were hitting notes that just felt like my ears were bleeding.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Just smoke another joint. You know? Do some more mescaline or something, you know? It'll be okay.
can I ask about that? You brought it up, so I'll ask a
Sure.
little bit.
Love drugs.
What's so I've been fascinated with psychedelics for a long time.
Wonderful.
I know this much about mescaline. I know kind of the class of drugs and other things that it's related with, but how does mescaline compare to like LSD and some of the other things that you might have
It's
tried?
very similar. It's very similar. Nowadays, unless you really get some knockout stuff, a lot of the LSD is like high grade speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to do it and you're going to be up and flying for 12 hours. You may have a little trails or you may even hallucinate a little bit, but not that much. You know, a lot of it has strychnine in it, so you're going to get cramps. Oh, yeah. But back in the days, oh, God, in the 70s and stuff when we did mescaline, I had a friend, we hung out together. He dropped some mescaline, and did the stupid thing of going home. He walks into his parents' house.
Oh no.
And they got this big mirror there. And to him, that mirror started melting.
Yeah, that would be problematic.
Oh, yeah. And his parents were like Southern Baptist bullshit.
Right.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah. So they're like, oh, we got to have one of these, I don't know, whatever. Intervention. That's it. Yes. And he's like,
Seance, we
no.
got to cast these demons out of this
I
young
just
boy.
got to get this shit out of me. That's all. But, oh, yeah, that was funny as all get out. And in those days, those kind of drugs were really much more potent. Whereas nowadays, they're diluted down. You got to know somebody to really get something good.
Like mescaline's not something you can just come across.
You can't really come across it.
Yeah.
Mushrooms are great. Mushrooms are a lot of fun.
Sure.
I know some people with that, and know some people with orange sunshine, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
weirdly enough, you can buy San Pedro cactus legally from like places like Home Depot. I don't think around here, but like in the Southwest and the areas where that's native, you can just go and buy it and then do your thing, I guess.
We had a 10-foot one growing in our house.
Nice.
And we were always going to cut it off and do the thing and everything, but we just never did.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing, it just kept growing and growing. And I kept telling my wife, I was like, let's cut it. Let's make some tea.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we will. And
It's just too nice.
Just didn't
Too nice
happen.
of a
Yeah.
plant.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful plant.
Right. Yeah.
But you hook up with, you got to know the right people.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the subculture thing, the whole kind of psychedelics thing is a subculture in and of itself. And to your point, you kind of got to get in those circles to.
Well, Reptile was perfect for that because I had a friend that anytime I called her up and said, I want to go on vacation, that meant I wanted to hit a blotter. And we had some good times at the Reptile House on Blotter.
Yeah.
Nice. Damn.
Oh, yeah.
It's a different time now. It's
it really is
like that anymore.
It truly is. Yeah. Oh God. One time, I did a little coke at one time, but I never really got too much into it because I knew I'd be too addicted to it. Too much into it.
Yeah.
Went to see B.B. King at the State Theater.
Yeah.
And me and a buddy
in Kalamazoo?
Yeah, in Kalamazoo. And me and a buddy had picked up an 8-ball. And we were going to tear this thing up.
Yep.
Well, our third buddy, he was straight. He didn't do any kind of drugs or anything like that. So there's just all this for the two of us. And we got ripped up before we even left town.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get in the car, I'm driving. I'm the one driving.
Yeah.
As soon as I get in the car, I get claustrophobic. I got to drive to Kalamazoo and back.
Yeah.
I spend the entire B.B. King concert walking around the State Theater.
Oh, man.
We had tickets in the second row, and I sat there for one song and then couldn't sit still for the rest of the night.
What year was this?
Oh, let me think. This had to have been early 90s.
It's in the 90s.
Yeah, early 90s. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my dad and my aunt were at that show.
Yeah.
Unless he played there a lot, which maybe he did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know they saw B.B. King at the State Theater in Kalamazoo in like 93, 94, perhaps, something like that.
That would have been it.
That's hilarious.
That would have been it. Yeah. They would have seen me walking around just the whole place.
And apparently it was a hell of a show. Apparently he killed did he have some percussionist or something with him? And
he had a whole stage full of musicians.
Right? Yeah.
And I remember the first song he played, and after that, I don't remember anything.
So, all right, this is very random, but in my basement right now, I have a playbill poster it's a B.B. King show at the State Theater in Kalamazoo, and we're going to look at the date on it after this thing.
Cool.
We'll see. If maybe it's that
cool.
show.
Yeah. Because 93, 94, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And I don't even know where that came from. This isn't something that I got from them. This is just some random thing that I have. So we'll check it out, but that would be quite the coincidence.
That's cool.
What's the sounds like you've seen a thing or two concert wise. What's the coolest concert you've ever been to personally?
Well, Stones in 72 as just someone viewing it.
Yeah.
One of the coolest concerts, a lot of concerts were really cool that I shot. Mushroom Head was really bizarre.
Okay, yeah.
Mushroom Head at the intersection.
Yeah.
You know, they bang on these drums with the water and everything.
Yeah.
I might
So
have been playing that show. We played with them a bunch of times.
Did you?
at the intersection.
Okay.
Yeah. The Carnival of Chaos shows.
The
and all
time
those.
the lead singer had a concussion was when I shot it.
I don't remember that, but
He was the guy. He had dark hair. He was
Yeah.
the lead singer, and he'd stand out on the edge of the stage. He'd always put his foot up on the monitor,
Yeah.
and yeah,
They are.
God, that looks like it.
Yeah.
And the stage got completely wet from them banging on the drums.
Yep, with the water.
Well, he comes over the monitor and he's coming right at me, and I'm thinking, oh shit, he's going to get down and get into the crowd.
Right.
Well, I back out of the way thinking he's going to come down and start crowd surfing. He lands on his head in the pit.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
His feet had come out from under him.
Yep.
Got a concussion.
Yeah. Ooh.
He
ow.
sang, he finished the song and did one more song, and then they carted him off. They had to take him to
Holy
be
crap.
checked.
Yeah, I wasn't at that show. I think I would remember that.
Yeah,
one.
he landed right on his head, and then the rest of the band, they finished their show and everything.
I don't think it would have
That was
mattered at
bizarre.
all without him. they're that band. They got like 3 singers or something anyway. They're
Nobody knew the
rapping or
difference.
whatever.
Yeah, nobody knew the difference. They just carted him off through the back way, and that
yeah.
was it. But
Are you able to enjoy a show just like as a spectator if you're shooting it, or are you so in that mode of get the shot and just dialed in that it's
Yeah.
kind of dead to you? That
when
way?
I'm shooting, it's just the shoot.
Yeah.
Nothing else. And if people come up and talk to me, I can't register what they're saying or
Right.
feel anything. It's always just focus on, I got to get every shot. When I shot Aerosmith, first time they played Grand Rapids, I had 3 cameras with me, 2 of them laying on the stage. When one would go empty, I'd pick up the other one, and I just shot simultaneously.
Right.
And most of the time, you have 3 songs in the pit, and then you're out of there.
Yeah.
And so you have to stay so focused. And for the longest time, I didn't like going to shows if I wasn't shooting them. If I can't photograph this, I just sit and want to photograph it.
Yeah.
And it just drive me crazy.
That kind of sucks too.
But
You
now
can't just
I'm
enjoy
out
it.
of that. I'm much further away from that because basically I don't like the music business as it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's all big business.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like the rest of corporate America.
Yeah, it kinda
and
sucks.
For a photographer, it sucks big time
Yeah.
because you're either in with a publication or you're in with a recording company.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have an inside to be able to go anywhere and do anything. And it's just, like I say, it's all big business.
Yeah.
And when I shot Aerosmith the very first time, I actually talked my way into the concert.
Nice.
I had gone to music review, which is what they were called in the day.
Yeah.
I said, I'd love to shoot Aerosmith. I will give you free pictures if you get me a pass. And they're like, great, cool. Well, they never did. And I thought they did. I thought they were going to have a pass for me.
So you went to the thing.
I go to the Van
Yeah.
Andel. I go in the back, and I'm like, okay, I'm here to shoot for music review. I should have a pass. And the marketing person said, no, you don't have anything here. They never called. They never got approval from the record label.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, crap. I came down here all this way, got my gear and everything. And the woman said, well, just wait a second. She said, the video guy, the house video guy, he didn't come in that night. So I could use his pass, and I got to shoot their show.
Nice.
That's the only way I got to shoot their show.
Nice.
I didn't give music review any pictures.
Yeah.
It's like you didn't open the door, you
Yeah.
didn't get nothing.
This is music review, like the magazine that was around here.
This was a generation ago, music review.
Okay.
It's called review now,
Yeah, right,
but it was
still-
music
still
review
music
then.
review,
Yeah.
That's when I was like in it a few times then,
Yeah.
back in that day too.
Yeah.
But this must have been toward the end of music because I remember when it changed to review or whatever.
Well, that was the thing I always wanted to photograph was music,
Yeah.
bands. I ended up, is really bizarre. When I started photography, I met a guy at a camera store. He saw me buying a tripod. He said, why don't you come in with me? You can help me with the rent on my studio, and I'll teach you how to use studio lighting. That's fantastic. 'Cause
Win-win, yeah.
I always wanted to learn that. So he takes on 2 other photographers within the next couple of weeks. So there's 4 of us in this 2,000 square foot studio. I was with him about 60 days, and learned enough how to operate the lights, how to read them, work a light meter and stuff. And then I actually moved out of his place into his old place. He had a small studio where he originally started. I took that one and I started shooting fashion. We were shooting for modeling agencies, catalog companies.
Cool.
That was just a ball.
Yeah.
And then I started shooting for hair companies, and that was crazy. I mean, those people know how to party.
Oh, yeah.
And they will work. They'll work around the clock. And then when you think there's nothing left, then they're ready to party.
Damn.
Oh yeah. we would have shoots, like we'd do shoots for Paul Mitchell and Redken and Sorby, and they'd come in the studio probably about 6 o'clock in the evening. We'd wrap up a shoot about 10:30 at night. They wouldn't leave till about 2 because we were all having a beer or having a big bong or something.
Yeah.
And then they'd leave about 2, and then they'd be in the salon the next morning.
So you got quite a resume of shooting like beautiful older women between that and Cindy Crawford and Steven Tyler.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Photographed a lot of beautiful people over the times.
Thank you. I thought that was some of my finest work there.
Well, I don't know about Steven. Although he did look cool then.
Yeah. Now he looks like
he looks like somebody's grandmother now.
One too many scarves these days.
Yeah,
you know,
he needs to shave, too. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Do you know a photographer named Jeff Bryn around here?
Oh, yeah, I know Jeff quite well.
He does tons of that. That's kind of his bread and butter, as far as I understand.
He's the music guy. He really is.
Shoots tons of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He was supposed to come over and do this show, and his freaking Jeep died on him or something.
I heard about that. Yes.
Then he realized he's got far better ways to spend his time.
No, he doesn't.
Do you prefer like shooting inanimate objects? I know you said you're doing a lot of like museum type stuff now. Do you prefer that to like people?
Yeah, I like not dealing with people anymore.
Yeah.
For 39 years, no, actually 43 years, I've dealt with people.
Yeah.
All my photography was based on people. Now I'm doing a lot of scenic type things, some still life things, very different things. I've gotten into a thing where I make these tintypes. And they're not real tintypes.
Okay, what's a tintype?
Tintype is actually, it's a photograph that's made usually on metal.
Okay.
And you've got to treat the metal. You've got to use caustic chemicals with it.
All right, yeah.
It's usually a process to do one picture. It'll take you a good 20, 25 minutes at least.
Yeah.
And it's very involved. Well, I figured out a way to do it digitally. And so I can apply this tintype feel to my pictures.
Interesting.
And everything looks like it was made in the early 1900s, really.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah. And when I went down to New Orleans, about a couple of months ago, that's all I shot were tintypes. Yeah. And with the oldness of that city and the wrought iron and the architecture in the French Quarter is just perfect for that. Yeah.
Gives all that vibe.
Yeah. Is the whole vibe. It just worked perfectly.
Yeah.
And really, all I've had to work with since that fire was my phone.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask after the fire, like, what did you do for gear? Did you go buy new gear?
I had my phone. That was it.
Yeah.
Basically, I will replace some of my studio lighting because everything studio lighting was lost.
Sure.
Luckily, with cameras and lenses, I only lost 2 lenses.
Oh, okay.
Both of those lenses cost $2,000 a piece.
Right, yeah.
But that's all I lost as far as actual camera gear.
Right.
So I've been really lucky in that respect. But I won't go back to shooting the way I used to.
Right.
As far as doing concerts, doing events, doing commission things for people. I just can't deal with that after the fire.
It's interesting how this fire, like, it completely sort of changed your, like, creative, I don't know, direction or something.
Totally.
Like, isn't that weird?
No. Well, when you have something that strong affect you that deeply,
you kind of
it's just what happened.
Did put things in perspective. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, okay, like I'm just going to do exactly what I want to do from now on. Or was it something like that?
It was more of, I just wanted to keep myself busy. So I'd take pictures with my phone.
Yeah.
And by wanting to keep myself busy and at least productive, because I am kind of I'm not a type A person, but I do like to keep busy to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And so I started taking these pictures with my phone because that's all that was available to me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I started a whole new body of work.
Right. Yeah.
And it's all basically just based on what I'm shooting, what's available to me now. Mm-hmm. Like I'm doing thousands of pictures of my cats. And they're phenomenal. And I will sell them someday, hopefully.
It's such a cliched thing to say, but it's so true. And it's one of those things that, not that I'm especially old, obviously, but you almost can't grasp it when you're younger because you're so overwhelmed by the feeling.
Yeah.
But there is so much truth in, like, for every bad thing that happens, if you're keeping your mind open, like, often so many good things come of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's so hard to feel that in the moment.
Yeah.
I would imagine in that situation, especially, you know, with the, you know, unfortunate things that happen. But man, if you just like kind of keep your eye on the prize, like a lot of good can come from the bad in like,
truly,
a weird way. You know?
truly
That's kinda what I
did.
was getting at
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's like this crazy thing of like this crazy life event happens to you, and all of a sudden you're like, your whole artistic direction is like, you know.
Well, all you can do from the day after the fire, all you can do is just push forward. You've got to figure out what you need to do as far as insurance, financial, putting a roof over your head, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And once
you get that handled,
you get that direction started, then you just keep pushing, and you just have to get that shit done.
And sometimes, like, not that you want it to happen, but in a weird way, going back to the psychedelic conversation, like sometimes it takes a big event to shake you out of your patterns, right? Like,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
The thing that I've heard, and it's the best analogy that I've ever heard, it was specific to psychedelics, but it applies to so much more, is as human beings, when you do things over and over, it's like going down a sledding path, right? Mm-hmm. And when you go down that fresh snow and you cut the groove, you can go faster and faster, but you're always going down that same path. You can't jump out of that groove and go over to the next thing.
Yeah.
But with a big event like that, or potentially a psychedelic thing or whatever it is, it kind of lays like a fresh layer of snow down.
True.
And then maybe it takes a little bit longer to get down the path, but you're not as confined to that one direction. So to speak,
definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
Most definitely. It's a very life-changing thing. And it's, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, the one thing I come away with from all of it, beyond the pictures, beyond the cameras, the studio and everything, is my wife saved my life. Had she not gone upstairs to wake me up, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing that I just hang on to and keep with me, that, you know, is just that simple thing of, you know, the guy told her she had to get out of the house. She said, "No, I'm going up and get my husband. He's asleep." And after that, you know, it's like, well, camera stuff, studio stuff, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. But
what she didn't tell you about was the 2 seconds of hesitation, though. She did kind of do this a little. All right.
I was going to say, the irony is that at the same time, a wife might take 15 years off your life, but in this particular, you know, it's kind of a net wash at the end of the day. So.
it was,
I do think too. What I was thinking about is it's also, I think it's kind of a testament, or like it's a sign of like a true artist, if you will, that like it's kind of like, well, I don't got any of this gear anymore, but I'm still going to get on with it and use what I do have, and I'm still just going to create with whatever I got, you know, or whatever, and just still figure out a way to do work because that's what I want to do.
That's a huge point, man. You get scrappy, and it's just like you make do with the tools you have at hand in the moment.
With this fire sale, most of the things you see in the fire sale will never be seen again.
Yeah.
Because I've started a new body of work. I will go back to the abstract nudes because I've got, within that full body of work, I've got an inset body that is very new and hasn't even been out in the public. And I'll eventually put that in a gallery someday.
Yeah.
But I do smoke a lot of weed, so I lose my train of thought sometimes. This is the first time tonight, so I'm doing pretty well.
No, yeah, that's amazing. So the fire sale is next weekend?
Next weekend,
Next
the 22nd and 23rd of March.
And that's at the DAC.
At the DAC. And
down here in Grand Rapids.
The DAC is actually located behind the Gaia House. Gaia House is the vegetarian restaurant that's right on Plainfield. It's in the Creston area.
Yeah.
Where Creston Brewery is.
Right where we used to do the podcast.
stomping
That's where I
grounds,
lived there for close to 15 years.
Yeah.
And we're not far from there now.
Cool.
As a matter of fact.
That's true.
So I'm definitely going to
That's where this whole thing got started. You never would have guessed that coming from that little studio in Creston where we're at now. Tens of thousands of viewers. Yeah. How far we've come. We've come.
So obviously this is what's on your plate right now. Do you got anything going on after that, or is it like I don't know what I'm doing?
Actually, I'm going to be working on future shows. Well, I've got 3 pieces that are going into the Festival of the Arts.
Oh, cool!
And they're actually new pieces that won't be at the sale. Now I've got a painter that's a friend of mine, an artist. She's done shows all her life.
Yeah,
she's just full blood artist completely. She is talking about doing some collaborative shows where she shows her paintings and I show some of my tintype style, kind of working a collaborative thing like that.
Sweet.
And I'll do some of my newer work, but I won't be looking back on any of the old stuff.
Right.
That little segment of abstracts will be brought into some galleries.
Yeah.
Probably a couple of years from now. But most of everything will be focused on new stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and then as far as your online presence, if people want to see your work, you got a website?
Yeah,
or is
actually just putting one up now.
Nice.
It's motleyfineart.com. Motley fineart.com.
Nice.
It's just in its infancy. We're getting some things going. I do have Tim Motley abstracts on Instagram.
Okay.
Now that's where most of my work will be shown, at least online.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Tim Motley.
There we go.
Best in the business. The producer back here. Step aside.
Yeah.
Jamie, we got
this
beat up in the
tintype
house.
kind of stuff up here?
Yes, that's the tintype style.
I love it. I love that kind of stuff, man.
And basically, I've got a Facebook page, but none of my work will ever go on Facebook again. Any of my new work I'll put some on Instagram, and that'll be about it.
I'll put some
and then
on
my
Facebook
website
too, because that's where I'm at, and I want to see. That's where I see your stuff.
If you were to shoot Keith Richards on tintype, would he look even older?
Yeah, he couldn't look any older.
This is a burning question on my mind right
It would look weird because the tintype does a weird thing with your eyes. It makes them really light, and he could look pretty ghosty.
Oh, wild. Okay.
Yeah.
This is very similar to the kind of stuff I try to do, and I'll show you some of my stuff after or whatever, which is not as good as this. I'm not pretending it is.
So cool.
Yeah, it's killer images. So
Done with a phone.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Really?
That's what I'm saying. Is most of it like I'm doing all of it like on the computer.
This tree,
after the fact,
tree, I photographed back in 1985. I was going down. This is off of Kalamazoo Avenue, going towards Green Lake.
Okay.
Saw this tree, saw the sunrise, and the sun was coming right up in the fork of the tree. Is in November. I walked out in the cornfield. I was laying in the snow photographing that tree back in 1985, and I found that tree just last year. And realized that's the same tree I photographed back in 1985.
We were born in 1984.
Oh my God! Wow.
So yeah.
I was born in 54.
So, all right, man. Well, damn. I mean, everybody's, like I'm saying, like if you haven't seen Tim's work, I've been a fan for a long time. Probably been following you for close to 10 years now, I think, or something like that. So, even though we've never really talked or anything.
Sure.
So, try to make it to the sale if you can go. This is just next weekend. This should be out Monday here coming up, so people should hear this before the sale.
Cool.
Follow this dude online, and yeah, man, thank you so much for coming and talking about your stuff.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
It's great. Okay, thanks everybody. Peace out.
Peace.
Bye-bye.